We're the ones who donate so you can win the race, then turn around and make a cash grab. And yet we turn around and thank you for the backstab. We only had to change the names on Trump-era hashtags to hashtag Biden lied, people died, hashtag Biden built the wall, and hashtag Biden is a fascist. That one's gonna get a workout this summer. Every gas attack, every time they come and cattle you and rush you in a charging armored mass attack. And the last thought that you'll have before your head hits the ground, splits, shatters, and then bounces back is how much they deducted for that body armor just before they gave your measly taxes back. This is war, and that's a fact. This is more than Biden gets to fix by saying riot bad, white terror good, and sending you away with a little bit of placid satisfaction thinking that was that. But that was far from that. That was far from making 500,000th of a fraction of a surface scratch. That was only muddying the waters of your scrying pools, grind a little gravel on your looking glass. So that when all the truth is bare, it is but an empty air and 1,000-yard stare with which we're looking past. And all it took for me was one classic Biden speech to know there's nothing I won't put him past. Be it jacking up your insulin, or caging every immigrant, or threatening the victims of his sex offense and smearing them to try and get his footing back. Biden is a war crime veteran who dropped the bomb on better men, and all for only Lockheed Martin's benefit. So please don't try to paint his bitter bigotry as something tame, like he was just a grumpy grandpa bitching for his pudding back. Unity and solidarity to Joe Biden means a meeting where the hoods are black. Which, if it's representative of anything, it's just the executioner who lives to swing the axe and never once has thought of looking back. And some need never fear the axe, who still possess a hope chest with the wood intact. The same who swear they'd never march with all those nasty fascists, but they would in fact. The same who say they'd never cheer a journalist who's being tortured for exposing war crimes each of us should deem important, but they would in fact. The same who say they wouldn't call the cops on every unassuming black teenager they see walking down their block, but they would in fact. Biden said he wouldn't, so you voted when you shouldn't, 'cause he would in fact.
And when you dream, you're by yourself. Don't know the streets where you'll find yourself. Go back to sleep, don't mind yourself. Both hands on your head. When you dream, you're by yourself. Don't know the streets where you'll find yourself. Go back to sleep, don't mind yourself. Both hands on your head. Both hands on your head.
Money's talking while hunger prays. Bunch of Nazi-loving child fuckers run the state. 911 is on some 1-800-CIA, and plastic pundits pump your trust and fund your shallow graves. It is malice just for malice sakes. Congress houses wealthy corpses, breathing hexes, arming forces, then spilling out 1,000,000 greedy snakes from all their orifices, coursing down the Congress floor, across the aisle, out the door to curse 1,000,000 more before they've run their bloody courses. Clip your wings like Klippenstein, then out and burn your sources. God collapse at times is hard to witness, other times it's gorgeous. There's something satisfying in the act of watching something greedy choke upon the very thing on which it gorges. And there is something humbling blooming in the thought that once the dust is settled, mine could be the hand that clears the moss and lights the torches. That mine could be the voice that wakes the very fucking orchids. Mine could be the words that stir the armies in the orchards. Then all the lowliest of roots, I'd be the one to call them forward. Let the very earth be witness first to see the fascists flail and flounder when they learn they're truly cornered. Once they learn the class war has boiled down to looters versus hoarders. Let the earth absorb their meager worth once they've been quartered. Laugh and say I only followed orders. Kinda like the guy who flew the drone that leveled doctors without borders. When all the classic Clinton morals launched a couple wars and off the books a dozen more. And so Congress opened up the store and moved 250,000 mortars. And bombed allegiance out of those who wouldn't kneel before us. And now the stage is set and we're the starving chorus. Who hunger not for justice but those leaders that ignored us. Who hunger not for justice but those leaders that ignored us.
Go back to sleep, don't mind yourself. Let what you've seen rewind itself. And when you dream, you bind yourself. Both hands on your head. Both hands on your head.
Who are these people? 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 Who are these people?
I watched a man decide to stand up for us, and I watched them take him away. So I had to break down your respect for the process, but the process won't be saved.
Hi, I'm Nancy, and I love ice cream.
I enjoy it.
But not as much as watching people forced out of their homes.
I like it better than anything else.
Watching people forced out in the streets to live alone, and knowing that I own every homeless set of bones.
I don't know why, but it seems to agree with me. I have a lot of energy.
It's all more support from my hideous and ill-gotten throne, the weight of which is too much for you to bear alone. Which is why you ended up threadbare alone, kicked off your benefits and left to your own. The diner that you worked at was told it could open its doors, but there's no clientele, and it's probably just as well, because half of the staff didn't last, so they can't come to work anymore. You can't expect a corpse to pull itself through the door to flip omelets for $8 an hour anymore. Make your own food, clean your own floors, fake your own news, fill a whole morgue. Get a film crew out front, but don't let them in the doors. Let's keep it frontline heroes, America's soldiers, you know the score. Joe knows the score.
I watched a man decide to stand up for us, and I watched them take him away. So I had to break down your respect for the process, but the process won't be saved.
Who are these people?
Stop saying the election is so goddamn important and start telling Joe he needs to rein in his supporters. Oh, that's right. Joe can't even rein in his tongue behind his resin molars. Pardon me for asking for some faculties from someone who is vying to control us. The man is not quite yet speechless, but you can bet he's soulless. And if you think he can stop the greatest threat that's ever held a public office, you might be Joe's equal in the ignorance department. But I can guarantee you we will finish what we started. A rabid coalition of activists and politicians, sex workers, educators, artists. Those of us who followed Bernie so close and fell the farthest. Who will not falter until all of us are cared for, regardless of whether it would turn a profit.
Now I am not a leader or a teacher or a prophet, but I am here to proudly say today is the day I start campaigning for the role of Speaker of the House that we will build from the bones of the old Congress. And when I say bones, I do not mean framework or stones, I mean literally bones of the old guard keeping us from progress. Tonight's the last dawn before things get their darkest. Tonight's the last dawn before things get their darkest.
Who are these people?
The calm before the storm, the calm before the harvest. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
Who are these people?
Tonight's the last dawn before things get their darkest.
Told to come alone. Joe said if you vote for him, he'll abdicate his throne as the father of the crime bill, soul of Jim Crow. Proud to live and vote as a Strom Thurmond clone. If he tried to kiss your daughter with a camera rolling, he'll try more than kissing her alone. Cozy up with Jill for a photo like a portrait of the Kissingers at home. You know I hate to kill the messenger, but if he's gotta go, we can FaceTime and slit his throat while he stares into the phone. Like if you don't know, kitten, now you know. This is where austerity has gotten us. This is all that palpable excitement for a 20-year wait on forgiveness for your student loans. But a distraction's a distraction and it's time to see some action, so here's one last song for Joe. Before I try to keep his name out of the lyrics in my phone, try to shift the focus to our senators and everyone in Congress who is all too happy to be hidden while we're wasted to the bone. It is not food insecure, it's starvation, and it lurks in almost half the country's homes. So if you plan to lay down, hold your nose and vote for Joe, have the guts to admit that you chose to submit and that you decided lending your support to a pedophile must be a step towards hope. That a vote for a man that spent his whole life implementing laws that dehumanized people of color is a vote against fascism. When you know damn well he's just a kinder, dumber face on the same white nationalism. So baby, throw away your scruples with the memories of your activism. Watch your weak resistance usher in a fucking cataclysm. Elect a bigot war pig and say you're gonna push him into pacifism. That's some bootlicker Stockholm hostage liberal masochism. Bootlicker Stockholm hostage liberal masochism. Baby, that's some fucking bootlicker Stockholm hostage liberal masochism. God, that's some fucking bootlicker Stockholm hostage liberal masochism. That's some fucking...
It starts with a few things missing at the store. A few things missing that you're likely to ignore, that didn't impact this trip or the one before, but it might impact the next 4. Or every time you try to find provisions between now and the forevermore. Between now and the day when all your neighbors form a horde and show up with their forks and torches trying to force your pantry door. And you could give them double what you really can afford, but they'll all be back for more. Because your meager little crop is not enough to stop a war. Not enough to stop a conflict. Not enough to stop our greed and primal needs from just erupting into one communal mosh pit. 'Cause Uncle Sam will starve you just the sight of fucking Auschwitz if it pleases Congress. If it pleases all the hawks so they can gas up all their bombers. Then devastate some other poor families far away and overseas because we illegally obtained their DNA and linked them to Osama. And when they send police to burn your gardens and your trees, and they tell you you can't feed yourself, you just might get a visit from Obama. He can put his arm around you, maybe offer you a drink of ice-cold Flint water. And he'll tell a little story about a hard-working immigrant who's here to live the dream and make a future for his daughter, who works the high-fructose corn syrup vats at the factories that forge our fodder. And he'll tell you what a slap in his face it would be to refuse the fruits of all his labor just so you could live a little longer. He'll tell you how the spirit of America is carried by the people who would brave a little danger just to make the whole collective stronger. And he'll make it sound so sweet that you'll completely understand why he's the ruling class's fixer when they need a revolution conquered. So buy some stock in water. Take a good long look at your local farmer's market. Soon those skies will darken. Soon the crops will gray and only ash will be the harvest. They'll take EBT away from those it hits the hardest, and regardless of your talents, you'll be starving artists. Locusts lounge about the empty carts and gather in the thicket. Anywhere the dust is thickest, all the signs have blown away, and anyway, there's nothing left to picket. We unanimously voted to approve every one of Joe's decisions, because we were far too weak to speak a whisper of resistance, and some were too blinded by their bright orange nightmare to look into the distance, or to look into the past and see that Joe's plan to feed us all means eating all your meals in prison. That's the truth of profit over plenty in a capitalist system. If the harvest ends up in your hands or rotting in the trash, only profit makes the difference. Only money will decide if they neglect your children. Because hunger kills, so corporations found a way to see that hunger makes a killing. And the truth is hard to swallow, but it's plenty filling.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? Hi! Hey, everyone! What's up? We did it! Oh, you know what? I just realized we got the wrong ticker scroll. Okay, hang on. We'll be right back. Whoop! Whoop! Now we're back. How do we miss that? That's the right show. There we go. It said boats for a second. We're not at boats yet. That's later. All right. We are ready. I was trying not to say all right, and I started off the show with an all right. I realize I say that a lot, so we're going to try to change that up. That's what happens when you edit your own show. So yes, this is How Do We Miss That? I'm Indy. That's Reef sitting next to me / in Florida. And Golden Monarch, who stole Michael Saylor's orange tie? I had it originally red because I was like, maybe we need to do Trump. Trump's also got orange hair. We got Bitcoin. Honestly, that is the orange from a completely different brand beyond Bitcoin. That's the orange from
coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
That's where that's where it comes from. That is the logo color of Substack. Is my tie. So it is not Michael Saylor's orange tie. Fuck Bitcoin. Bitcoin is crazy. Trump coin is crazy. Crypto in general is crazy. Holy moly. We are absolutely in right now an orange timeline. So it kind of worked out beautifully. Yes. Not only that, Jett. All right. Now, the fourth story that we're going to do tonight has to do. Thank you. The fourth story tonight is going to have to do with Tony Blinken, who used the words literally respect the process. And if you were listening to the Speaker of the House song, okay, part of what he talks about is respect for the process, but the process can't be saved. And how does he do that? He amazes me. I adore that man. Yeah, shout out to Jett. Thank you, Fupa King 420 over there. It's Sunday once again. Come on, you had to. So we got the wonderful, beautiful Anna Mayers wearing her t-shirt, her tank top, her We Need More PsyOps, Better PsyOps tank top, tanky top. A Seven Sword Mary also over on the Rumble. Oh, we got some people over on the Rumbles. Listen, before we get started, I love everyone on Rumble. If you're going to give on Rumble, instead of giving a Rumble rant, because they take half of that, do it as a channel subscription. It's $5. It's the same $5 that a rant would be. All right. But the channel subscription gets you a month that highlights your thing, and they give 100% of that to the creators. Just say, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it, And it gives you a month of subscription, which is really cool. You can even gift it. You see that little red present thing? You can gift a monthly subscription to somebody if you want, and you already have one. So very cool. Rumble did that, and they're helping out all the streamers. But 50% on the rants. Boo! Not a fan on that shit. So we have a packed show this week. I just kept adding links and links and links. This looks like a boat smashing into other boat show. Honestly, there are so many freaking tabs. Reese not happy. But yeah, Angel saying Rumble membership, please. Like money, please. Right? Rumble membership, please. So yeah, before we do that, what? Well, David Lynch will tell you right now. That's right. So all these amazing people don't care how long a scene is either. They support our channel, and they support independent media. They support the media they want to see, which is what the ticker says. Support the media you want to see, because that's what we're doing right now. Thank you. Really appreciate all that. Good to see everyone tonight for, again, how do we miss that? Sunday nights on INN, Indie News Network. We are growing as usual. We have the Ocho. We're going to have boats over on the Ocho later. But we had, 14 shows live last week, including Steve's simulcast? I mean, wow. I think we had something every day of the week, too. Really good. What? We can't hear Reef? Come on, really? Nope. It says we can't hear Reef. Wait, how about now? Talk. No. Oh,
testing,
his volume.
1, 2, testing.
Somebody turned Reef's volume all the way down. Now it's better.
It might also be me.
When we were doing that.
I had to restart the computer every time we do a show.
No, this was in
system input volume.
It was in OBS. It was in OBS. I got you.
So how about now? How about now?
Everybody got him now. Thank you, Fred. No? Angel? No?
Big fat guy, but still nice.
There he is. Okay, good. Everybody hears him now. Anna's getting it a second later. Yeah. I had an operator error. Oh, damn, Natalie. Thank you so much over on...
Who gives a fucking shit how long a scene is?
Thank you. Okay. Now let's get back. Okay. We got to rewind, and we need to go back to our David Lynch tribute that Reef was doing.
And if you can believe it.
Yeah.
It's Sunday once again, which is why I said that before. Now it makes
Sunday
a lot more sense.
once again.
Right? Okay.
It really does.
Yes,
It's
and
a Friday once again.
I hear no read. Oh my God. It's spreading, Reef. It's spreading. Somebody we know used to type out read all the time. So it's our little joke.
It happens.
It does happen. All right. So like I said, we have a stacked lineup. There is developing breaking news as we speak. I put this together this morning, and already a bunch of stuff has happened since then, and I don't even know exactly what the latest is. So I'm going to report as to what I knew when I put this all together, which was earlier today, and that is subject to change because I don't know. And I saw that they had actually released and shown video of some of the Palestinian hostages / prisoners, a couple of them, and there was word that 90 had been released. One of the things I had talked about was, were there any shown on camera? Because we saw a couple of, and we'll get there. Odyssey saying no to Stripe. And Stripe, there's a lot of Stripe news. So I want to bring in, we haven't talked about Stripe in a couple of months, and Stripe is rearing its ugly head again, as we predicted. So here it's going to be. And then we're going to talk about FEMA. Holy shit. So FEMA has been falling on its face again. Even though technically it's a new calendar year, they should have a new budget. They should have enough money to be able to handle distributing stuff in North Carolina. Then they had the Los Angeles fires. And everybody realizes that FEMA is a calamity and a shit show. And we're going to talk about that. And then finally, we're going to talk about some Indie Media Award honorees that were dragged out of a press conference this week. And while those of us in our small circle certainly know all about this, most people in the outside world, if they pick this thing up, and I do have a few friends outside this world do, they know nothing about what happened here. So I'm going to talk about what happened in the State Department press briefing room and the propaganda / gaslighting that tried to take place afterwards by corporate media and some of the sentiment from some of the people that we do know and love. So, yeah, we got a big show here. And then we're going to get to boats. We got some other stuff to talk about later. But yeah, let's get to it. Reef, what you have anything else to add? I mean, you got a lot of stuff I think to say about this. So yeah. Let's just jump into it. All right. So the first thing we're going to do here, you know what? Before we do that, I want to hide my tabs because that'll give us more space to see. Do that. And then we're going to go here because I like that view better. Okay. That's our document that I use. And that's our wall of fame. Thank you, everybody. What happened in Gaza? You know, apparently there was a ceasefire agreement that was signed. We're still getting tentative and kind of details of what was in that ceasefire agreement. Yeah. So I rely on the electronic intifada to tell me what's happening on the ground because they have people in Gaza right now. And God, look at that photo. And that was from APA Images. All right. And that was on January 16th. That was just the other day that picture was taken. All right. In the lead up to the ceasefire announcement Wednesday and in the hours following, Israel, of course, carried out massacres and campaigns of further destruction across the Gaza Strip. And so this is Nora Barrows Friedman over at the Electronic Intifada, another Indie Media Award honoree. All right. Israel escalates airstrikes on Gaza in the lead up to the ceasefire. So they announced the ceasefire is going to happen Sunday, and all of a sudden now you see an escalation of further bombings and further attacks everywhere. And it was harrowing and frightening and horrifying to read the witness accounts of. All right. The more we hear about a potential ceasefire, the higher the pace of attacks, the more families are being targeted and killed. Approximately 60 Palestinians were killed in a series of attacks just hours before the deal was reached. And then there was like hundreds in the 5 or 6 days afterwards. All right, here. In the early hours of Thursday, Anas al-Sharif reported 30 Palestinians were killed in Gaza City a few hours after the ceasefire deal was announced. So right there, just 60 plus 30, that's 90. All right, that's just in 2 reports. Right, and then here you've got the attacks continued. The Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza said on Thursday, since the ceasefire deal was announced, 72 people were killed. All right, so that number went from 30 to 72. All right, plus the 60s, so now you're at 132 minimum. That's just what's been reported. All right, now, you know this guy, he's dancing in the streets right now, believe it or not. He brought me to tears last week or 2 weeks ago, and wow, the death toll, you know, he's reporting on it, and these people would have been celebrating if the ceasefire had been signed off on earlier today. Maybe, but we know that this is what they're doing. They're escalating attacks. So on the 14th of January, they bombed a shop along the coastal road in Deir al-Balah. That sparked a fire driven by strong sea winds, quickly spread to engulf makeshift encampments for displaced people. Was that intentional? I don't know. It certainly happened, and 67 families lost all their belongings as their tents were destroyed in the fire. After they've already, again, had to drop everything and run how many times already so far?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're losing what, 67 kilometers, even with the deal or something like that? Like square miles or something like that of Gaza?
That's all of North Gaza, basically, where Israel's cut it off.
Yeah.
And they're already starting to bulldoze and level and clear.
Right where a canal wanted to go through.
How about that?
So, funny how that works.
Right. So, Al Jazeera correspondent said on on January 15th that Israeli vehicles were beginning to bulldoze the western side of the Indonesian hospital, which was completely rendered out of service last month. So not only, you think they're going to rebuild it for the Palestinians? I doubt it. Maybe because it's Indonesian, it's international, but I don't know. So again, there's a lot to this. Oh, update on Dr. Hussam Abu Safia. This is also important. He's now apparently been extended his stay, or whatever they want to call it, his imprisonment, through the 15th of February, transferred to Ophir prison on January 9th. During a video appearance at his hearing, all right, I haven't seen this one, in Ashkelon, all right, he seemed to show no apparent signs of torture, physical deprivation, or malnutrition. That's a good thing. However, a video alone cannot fully picture his condition. The lawyer urgently needs to meet him in person, which they blocked him from doing. All right. And he's barred him from meeting even with a lawyer until January 22nd. And he is to be held at least until February 15th, is from what I've seen. So
yes, the only democracy.
Yes, the only democracy in the Middle East. That's right.
Yes.
Because he wouldn't leave the hospital when they ordered him to.
No due process.
Nope.
That place.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
All right, now.
Okay.
You know this lady, Fiorella Isabel?
Mm-hmm.
She wrote a pretty long Substack article on her FiorellaIsabel.substack.com about this ceasefire agreement and the fact that there is a nefarious catch. All right.
Please, Fee, come on.
Yeah, well, she's going to lay it out. You've never known Fee to sugarcoat anything. We've known her a long time.
Other than snickerdoodles, sugarcoat does. Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to, but but she says it took 15 months of genocide for the U.S. and Israel to seriously consider a ceasefire deal to end the ethnic cleansing of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. According to Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman, who met individually with Israeli and Hamas negotiators, the deal will come into effect on Sunday. It's not yet fully official, as Israel's security cabinet and government have to approve it by Thursday, which they did. And right now, Netanyahu has halted the process, which he has tried to do the entire time. Not surprisingly for many, but even if this does continue, it's not what's been put out in the media. What a shock, right? So tell us, Fee, what's happening? As many Western pundits and activists patted themselves on the back, and Palestinians rightfully celebrated a respite from the bombs, hunger, and violent death, Israeli airstrikes continued on Wednesday, killing, like we said, 77 in Gaza since this premature announcement. And while the plans were put in place during the Biden administration, Trump has also taken credit, much accolade, and it's become a jarring game as to who should be the most praised for the featured delusional tweets. Suggest that Trump be given a Nobel Prize, while the one vital question most have failed to ask remains, why now? So before she dives into that, let's look at the three phases and multiple causes in this plan. The first phase will last 42 days and focus on the release of 33, weird enough, I mean, that there's no significance to that number at all, 33 Israeli hostages. All right, where are we here? 33 Israeli hostages, including women, children, and men over the age of 50, living or dead. American hostages Keith Siegel and Sagui Dekel Chen are among two of the people to be released in the first phase. And we've seen video about 3 of them. All right. In exchange, during the 42-day second phase, all right, Israel would release 30 Palestinian prisoners for each civilian hostage and 50 for each female soldier involving the declaration of sustainable calm. All right. Hamas would continue to free remaining male hostages, soldiers, or civilians in exchange for a yet-to-be-negotiated number of Palestinian prisoners and a full withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip. Okay. According to the plan, there would also be a focus on humanitarian assistance for Gaza. We saw trucks starting to flow in today from the Rafah Gate. A supposed end to fighting and displaced Palestinians would begin returning home as more aid enters the Strip. Again, all that means is that we're now getting back to pre-October 7th conditions. But their homes are completely leveled. And they have to basically start all over from scratch again.
And that's if this holds. Which likelihood of that is slim.
So the third phase involves the exchange of bodies of deceased Israeli hostages for bodies of deceased Palestinian fighters. All right, let me find that again. I just lost it. Here we go. Right there. There's also an alleged implementation plan for a 3 to 5 year reconstruction of Gaza in exchange for it to be carried out under international supervision, reiterating that the crossings for movement in and out of the area would be reopened. To whom?
Right.
Would the Palestinians have right of return? Would they finally get passports? No. I'll bet you the answer is no. Sorry. Look, stop the bombs and bring it back to where it was. Okay, at a bare minimum. All right.
Yep.
There are also several clauses and parts to the agreement. Right. The first, as mentioned, calls for the complete withdrawal of the Israeli forces to the borders from all areas of the Gaza Strip. There should also be the opening of the Rafah crossing and the complete withdrawal from it. As of now, aid trucks have begun coming in already. Israel must also facilitate the travel of the wounded for treatment abroad. Basic, like, Geneva Convention stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So that's from Al Mayadeen. All right. Then continuing on, Israel must specifically allow the entry of 600 aid trucks per day under the humanitarian protocol sponsored by Qatar, and must facilitate the entry of 200,000 tents and 60,000 caravans for immediate shelter. I hope that there are 200,000 families that need those tents in a way. Like, I hope that's not too much. They need more than that, even, because there are still that many left. I mean, I'm worried. I mean, a large-scale prisoner exchange should occur, including the release of 1,000 prisoners from Gaza and hundreds of detainees serving lengthy sentences. That's 1,000 prisoners from Gaza held by Israel. All right? Not like 1,000 prisoners in Gaza, but who were from Gaza, that were taken from Gaza to Israel, that are being held in Israeli prisons right now. Okay? So that's next. Then that's the tense. Then the 8th clause is that there's a prisoner exchange, right? Additionally, Tel Aviv should release all women and children. That's a given. Why wouldn't they be doing that, right? They're also to gradually withdraw from the Netzarim corridor and the Philadelphia route, though this part has not been agreed upon, and the AP claims that Hamas gave up on forcing Israel out of the corridor. Who knows? We know the AP are stenographers for the State Department. A vital component in this requires displaced residents to be allowed to return to their homes, at least, with guaranteed freedom of movement throughout the Gaza Strip. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for getting us back to pre-October 7th conditions. She says that would actually be an improvement to conditions before October 7th if it is to be implemented. I guess. After months of fear, hostile aircraft must vacate Gaza's airspace for at least 8 to 10 hours daily. So basically, UK can continue their spy flights for 12 to 14 hours daily? Or
well, and 8 to 10. So, like, the rest of the time, they can be there, too. Like,
that's my point. So
basically,
basically,
at night, they could bomb at night.
While they refuel. No, that's just spy flights.
Right.
That's overflights.
Okay.
All right.
Hostile aircraft must vacate Gaza's airspace. That's 80. No?
Right.
80 aircraft? So...
right. Finally, all Gaza hospitals...
Does that count?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Does that count drones? Do those count?
Hostile aircraft. So, yes.
Right.
So I would say yes.
You think? So I doubt that's what's going to happen, but we'll see.
They may be allowed to be there during the day, but they can't be there at night as they sleep the way that they had been doing, dropping bombs on the houses as they sleep.
Yeah, the entire time. Right.
All right. Finally, this is a huge one. All hospitals in Gaza must be rehabilitated, and field hospitals, medical equipment, and surgical teams must be allowed entry.
Yeah.
I'll believe that when I see it. I sure hope that they allow for that and that they allow for medical care and the documentation of just exactly how badly these people have been put through torture and the ringer, because that needs to be documented. So there is the description of exactly what we just talked about. All right. Here's what Fee says, is that my problem with this stems from the question I posed that a few are asking, why now? It's not my intention to take joy away from any stopping of the physical bombs and total extermination of Palestinians. Obviously, I, like many, welcome this. But I also must point out the reality that what's happened here is a distraction to pacify and delay the inevitable. Because this is a temporary ceasefire, according to everything we're seeing here.
According to Netanyahu himself, this is temporary.
For one, Israel has never respected any ceasefire and is under no obligation to do so because there's been zero consequence when it breaks its promises. That's absolutely right, Fee. No repercussions from the West or most of the non-aligned axis, the UN, or any international organization. Vocal condemnations do not stop bombs, and they've never halted Israel. 2, Tel Aviv's not even given us assurances. In fact, Netanyahu has threatened that Israel could use new military action to pressure Hamas in negotiations or could resume its violent military campaign. Which, didn't he say that? Yeah. Something that's likely to happen based on past behavior and the fact that there's little to stop them. And what's his name? Smotrich said again that they're moving forward. And Ben Gvir resigned, and yay, everybody celebrated for about 5 seconds and forgot about him. And he's replaced with another monster who's just as bad or worse. All right. But the plan still needing approval from Netanyahu's security cabinet and the full cabinet. I believe they got that. Smotrich is fuming, as are many Zionists on social media. But is that anything new? Yeah. Why rely on the tried and tired performance art from politicians and the Israeli brigade? We're not.
Mm-hmm.
She says now supposedly Qatar, the U.S., and Egypt would provide guarantees that all the agreements are followed through. And how are they going to do that? The problem is that the U.S. funds Israel. Also,
all those countries you just talked about definitely had a hand in Syria's fall recently. So, there's some questions.
Well, that's what she's about to say here. Is that the problem is that the U.S. funds Israel's expansion and genocide. Egypt is controlled by the U.S., and Israel is to the point of closing the Rafah crossing and being unable to do anything within these last 15 months. All right. And Qatar has deep relations with the West as well at the expense of Palestine and the axis of resistance. Again, I want to refer back real quick to the Ynet story that we covered last April that Vanessa Beeley had come out with.
No one else did.
That Gaza 2035 plan that basically is this. They want to turn it into international oversight by several Muslim/Arab nations that are friendly to Israel, part of the Abraham Accords and or controlled by Israel and the U.S., all right, UK, like Egypt, all right, and eventually turn, but Israel will never give up control, ever. The plan is to never have Israel give up control, all right? So we're reading, again, this is Fiorella's article on FiorellaIsabel.substack.com. Her take
Was
on...
that the one where they had like the EV factories and stuff like that?
Yes.
They were trying to make a thing there?
Yes, they were going
to
make
like a whole architectural model?
Yep. That's the one where you didn't like the scale. You got mad at the scale.
Yeah, scale was all fucked.
It was very funny. You know, you're like, hold, I can't take the scale. It was very funny. I just watched that again recently.
Yeah, because like cars were the same size as like buildings. Yeah, they completely botched that. Anyway.
So again, she says none of the Gulf states, including Jordan, have done much to help Gaza, and they've all been seen as traitors by much of the resistance. How could this be a fair exchange? It wouldn't be. Trump's being hailed as the one who reached a deal, and he's coming in with a very specific plan to look like the hero that makes America great again. But it looks like this has been the plan for a while, meaning that the Biden administration, under whom this genocide began, set out to end it now for a reason. Trump can gloat all he wants, and influencers trying to make Elon bucks on Twitter, X, can post cute tweets raving about his accomplishments, but this was clearly set in motion now for several reasons. It's not a Biden versus Trump mentality here, but rather the fact that one is set to continue the next phase of the same imperialistic and genocidal U.S. American foreign policy. Yes. Yes, Fee. That's right. That's absolutely correct.
And it's definitely not Biden crap either, which is the minute you say it wasn't Trump, people, we think it was Biden. No, idiots.
No, but this administration,
pay attention.
But they had negotiated a deal basically this, A, 13 months ago, and then B, the framework of it was agreed upon in May, and they never pushed it through. Yeah. And then Trump sent somebody over and said, you know, make this happen now or else. And look.
Yeah, I don't even know if that happened.
No, they did, but anytime that was on the table anytime anybody wanted to make that happen. Anytime. They just didn't want to make that happen. And that's what Fee's saying. All right. But for whatever reason, there are benefits. She's going to talk about that in a second. This brings her to Syria, which has now fallen with HTS terrorists, Israel and the U.S. All right. The three big architects of its demise, carving it up like a sack of meat at a butcher shop. Now Israel's free to continue its expansion into the region with little resistance, as Lebanon, which is fighting Tel Aviv itself and continues to pull bodies out of its own rubble from terrorist Zionist terror attacks like the pager attack, and then they drop bombs on an entire city block. And we've been hearing about all the stuff that's been happening in Beirut, all of southern Lebanon.
I think Incompetence announced today that Turkey was also annexing areas of Syria.
Turkey was? No surprise.
Yeah.
All right, scratchy. But now they're left open, and HTS terrorists are reportedly aiming to reach the country very soon. That's nice. The Lebanese election brought an anti-Hezbollah victor. No surprise there after Hezbollah got them bombed for defending Gaza and trying to align with Yemen and create a coalition that could potentially stop what Israel is doing. all right, who wants a relationship with Syria's new regime. Of course they do. All right, that leaves the country vulnerable to Zionist expansion, the Greater Israel Project, as we've been talking about. So, worth noting that Hezbollah has never only relied on the political wing, and it will continue fighting, but it's going to be more difficult because the former Syria, which used to provide an ally zone, is now Western-controlled and terrorist-filled. All right, so they don't have the buffer zone. They don't have another country that might align with and support them, other than maybe Iran. That's it.
Right.
And now she's about to talk about how we're going to tie up Iran too. The obvious elephant in the room is that the incoming Trump administration has the most Zionist cabinet in our history, right? People who think that Gaza should be flattened, told Netanyahu to finish the job, have I love Israel Twitter bios, I'm Israel Chai in their bio, right? And are not just Jewish, but Zionist, rabid, fundamental, disgusting fucking Zionists. I'll say it. She won't. She's a professional journalist. I will. All right. Who believe in Israel's right to all of the land in the region because of some 3,000-year-old bullshit that doesn't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention millions in Adelson money, which is the real reason behind it. All right. This doesn't magically go away because of a highly politically manipulated deal. That's naive at best, self-destructive if we're being honest. Yeah. Something else that barely any media have mentioned is that Trump has flagrantly admitted that he would leverage the ceasefire agreement as a way to advance the Abraham Accords, the U.S. brokered agreements from his first term that established normalized relations between Israel and several Arab nations. As I mentioned above, it just so happens that two of the nations, being Qatar and, what was it, Egypt, and who's the third one? It's Qatar, Egypt, and who else is the third one? It is. Maybe it was the U.S. Well, I've heard it mentioned a couple ways. Yeah. Qatar is definitely part of the Abraham Accords. He's probably going to push Egypt into signing an Abraham Accord in some way. He wants to position himself as this uniter of the Middle East, as his son-in-law sells waterfront property in Gaza. And that's what he's about to say. If this moves forward without major setbacks, the critical question of who will govern Gaza will be answered, as what's left of Palestine and Arab countries will effectively give Israel a carte blanche on the region, which is what they laid out in that 2035 plan.
I read Wednesday that the possibilities there are going to be the PA and/or I think the UAE want to throw there.
That's Qatar.
Right. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So normalization means an Israeli takeover of full security guarantees for Israel, ensuring that the billions in reconstruction efforts works to usher in more territory for the Greater Israel Project. Right? They're not planning to reconstruct Gaza for Palestinians, but for them. Again, see Gaza 2035 plan. All right, and that's what I'm guessing she's going to quote here. But this whole thing, guarantee of security for Israel, also means no Palestinian state ever. That's also part of the plan. Never give the Palestinians their own state. All right. Additionally, Trump proposed a gift bag of incentives. He's such a deal maker. That's a nice way to say it. Including removing sanctions on Pegasus. Are you kidding me? Why would you remove sanctions on Pegasus?
Why not?
And offering protection to IOF soldiers accused of war crimes. Hell no on that one. No, they got to go before The Hague, and they have to stay in Israel for the rest of their lives. Anywhere they go, they should be prosecuted and arrested. They committed war crimes, and they did it on fucking TikTok. And you're not shutting it down now. By the way, Max Sarge, I saw you said TikTok go bye-bye. Not anymore. They brought it back today. That's not happening now. Trump's going to save it. Ha, ha, ha. Trump's going to save it. Again, just like he's saving this. They're all lining up to cater to his ego to get what they want. They figured out a long time ago. The way you manipulate this guy, cater to his ego. Put his name all over it. Thank him. Give him credit even when he doesn't deserve it. He loves it. So yes, Israel has lost political power, public support, many soldiers, its reputation is in the toilet, and they failed to achieve their goal of eliminating Hamas. They've also destroyed their own reputation on the global stage, too. The UN is a joke to them. Everybody's voted against them except for the 2 or 3 protectors. But they've also killed hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, not received a single punishment, and instead garnered support from the West with little condemnation from the non-aligned Axis, save a few, under the excused mantle of Judaism for them and terrorism for Hamas. To blankly answer the earlier posed question, this is happening now because they needed Syria out, a weakened Axis, and a weakened non-aligned Axis for their required objectives. It's also no coincidence that we're seeing this all come with a change of face in the United States, while some long-planned foreign policy will still continue unabated. You mentioned the fact that Israel's been taking up more and more land in the occupied West Bank. We have, with the help of the Palestinian Authority, which he just talked about. It's only a matter of time before they fully control the entire thing, given the state of the region and the incoming logistics. Unless there's a miraculous united push to stop Israel and the U.S., which, looking at Syria, is unlikely. She's talking about Russia, if you haven't read between those lines. The only one that's really going to do it and push back is Russia, and they're tied up with Ukraine still. And they want to make a deal in Ukraine, so they're going to back the fuck off of this too and play ball. Plus, they'll offer them a little piece of this reconstructed zone just to keep them quiet. Watch.
Yep.
They're going to participate in this crap. And maybe they'll even give their money to the Dagestanis, who then funnels it back to the Palestinians. Who knows? You know, Putin can be a benevolent king like that. I'm joking, of course. All right. He says, I keep mentioning Syria because what happened there is key. It's a linchpin for us all, especially analysts, to understand how our wishes do not reflect reality.
Yep.
Without Syria, things for the Axis have realistically become incredibly difficult and devastating. The major players appear to be building up to an era of normalization. Iran's President Pezeshkian isn't the only one in charge. Like we said, Iran, it all is going to hinge on Iran, all right? But his tendencies toward liberalism don't serve the resistance interests for the country or of the Axis and non-aligned Axis. All right? Axis is what she's talking about, Russia, China, Iran. The non-aligned Axis is the other countries, the Yemen, that aren't necessarily part of that coalition, I believe is what she's describing there. Am I correct? I think.
I do believe.
Iran is also vulnerable with the coming Trump administration. I would think so, especially because Elliot Abrams will likely be somewhere in the administration, as may be John Bolton, which is already vilified and accused it of everything from election interference to assassination attempts and bringing bombs across the border. Yep. All right.
Remember Khashoggi?
Oh, I do remember. He had his head chopped, if I remember correctly.
I do believe.
Thanks to Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, this is Fiorella's article. It goes. It's almost done. This is the last paragraph. A ceasefire has long been necessary, but it should come with full assurances for Palestinians and involve the resistance, not Washington and the Gulf states, which facilitated this genocide to occur for as long as it has. I don't think that's realistic to expect that as long as they facilitated it, that they're not going to be involved in when it's ending. They're going to have to basically decide when they want to end it. This agreement on Israel's terms and Western-constructed doesn't mean an actual end to the extermination of Palestinians, but a delay of it, and this time with legal backing. Yeah, I agree with that. Even an establishment of a second-class Palestinian state, which they're not doing, does not equate to freedom, because those who run the show will not be Palestinians. Agreed there too. They also will not provide them with full electricity, water rights, travel rights, and everything else that every other human being in every other civilized country in the world has, which the Israelis are obligated legally to provide because they don't allow them right of return and they're occupying them. Oh yeah, that's part of the Geneva Convention too. Nobody talks about that. All right. In summary, it's too early to tell what this ceasefire actually is, but what I see coming with any ceasefire the U.S. and Israel agree to is the return to pre-October 7th treatment of Palestinians while continuing a slow death of Gaza and a quicker takeover of the entire region. Well, it's not. I mean, I've seen that full return of Gaza. I thought you said something about 67 square whatever kilometers where they're going to keep northern Gaza, basically. All right. She says nothing
for
as
a
I
buffer
stated.
zone.
Right. Nothing as I stated happens coincidentally, and timing is everything. After Syria, nothing is the same, and I don't exaggerate the level of betrayal we are seeing on many facets of the non-aligned axis. More will be revealed in due time, I'm sure, but for now, understand that none of this is happening in isolation, and those who seek power will never give it up willingly. God, that's such a great piece by Fee, really. That's awesome. And this should
We
have
covered a
lot
lot of
more.
this in her tweets Wednesday in our ceasefire stuff, but she added to it. So
yeah, this had a lot of stuff from Wednesday. And then I brought some other stuff here also. Was that Robert Indelcash, after they announced it, that Netanyahu says he's not going to abide by it. So he also says he'll increase the number of soldiers in Philadelphia. That's nice. All right. And we're also going to go to Sanaa Saeed, formerly of Al Jazeera Plus, now independent on her own, views my own. All right. She says it's approaching Sunday in Gaza, the day the ceasefire is supposed to take effect. Between its announcement and now, Israel has killed hundreds of Palestinians, including entire families. There is such a profound pain in knowing that the last feeling hundreds of Palestinians experienced was hope, was relief. For those of us who have been bearing witness from afar, we will grieve alongside all those who remain. We will remain steadfast in the fight for their liberation. And I saw some photos and some videos of people coming home to literal like skeletons underneath rubble and some disgusting, horrible stuff. So while they're celebrating at the same time, they have to come home to some nightmarish stuff. Here is Vanessa sharing video that the Red Cross has told Al Arabiya that the condition of 3 female IOF hostages is good. The resistance took care of them while the Zionist regime was trying to kill them and slaughtering Palestinians. Compare this to the inhumane treatment, rape, torture, and ritual humiliation of Palestinians detained by Zionist sadists. And so this is
Did you see that they literally sent them home with gift bags?
Yes, I did.
Like,
yep.
I don't know. I doubt you're going to see many of these. I think that was part of the ceasefire deal, was like filming the releases was like not a thing. So that you didn't see, like, you're not allowed to talk to the hostages.
Yeah, we didn't see any. And I actually, funny enough, I actually posted, have we started seeing any video of Palestinian hostages being released today? That was earlier this afternoon. And sure enough, somebody earlier then messaged, replied there and said, yes, they started doing that. Sarah Wilkinson posted this woman, Khalida Jarrar, released, significantly changed in appearance, reflecting the suffering and neglect of Palestinian captives.
Right.
So thank goodness she's out. and that this is all happening, at least for now. So that took a little longer than I was hoping. So please, you're not going to see that in a lot of places. I'll tell you right now, a breakdown like that. And I'm proud to do that, but that's why we get demonetized on places like YouTube. You can hook us up. Those places are the easiest and take the least fees. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, and Substack. All right, at innnewsletter.com. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I love you all for putting up with that. I know that was a little tough to start with. We're going to jump into something a little bit lighter next, but I did want to kind of say hello to everyone real quick. It's been a hell of a week, let me tell you.
Everybody.
And it's about to get crazier. We got an inauguration tomorrow that who knows what the hell's about to happen there. All right.
It could be the funniest thing that it's ever happened, but hopefully, maybe.
It could be. Right?
A storm could be a brewing.
Well, literally. Well, we just got 5 inches of snow here today, but I don't know how many they're due to get in DC.
Are you sure it's 5? Is it actual 5 or your 5? First of all.
I put a ruler. Come on, it's from base to tip, sir. It's base to tip.
Base to tip. Got it.
That's how it's supposed. That's how we're supposed to measure. All right. So we have talked about.
Sorry, children.
Yeah, sorry. That is not an adult. That is kind of an adult type of conversation that we're talking about there. And I see a lot of family in the chat. It's so good to see all of you. We are live over on Rumble. We're live on Odysee. I turned that back on because Rockfin being ad free, they kind of shit the bed on us. So we're back on Odysee. Odyssey.com/Indie News Network, I believe, is the thing. You can go to our link tree, which is indienews.network, and you can find all the links to all the channels. Fred Edward, shout out to Fred Edward, who caught that there were 3 or 4 typos in there as well, that were making sure that they were broken links. So we got all those fixed up, made sure everything works out right. So thank you again to Fred.
Fool. I have 70 alternative accounts.
Well, we have a few. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So again, we're talking about Stripe. Now, remember, we talked about how Stripe has a monopoly, quite a bit of a monopoly over the content creator space, because they are the exclusive payment processor for Substack. So if you have a Substack and you want to monetize, you have to have a Stripe account. And if Stripe demonetizes or decides they don't want to work with you, you can monetize Substack, at least directly. You can do what we do and have a Cash App and a GoFundMe or a Give, Send, Go, or some of the other things that other people do to raise money. But it's much easier to tap into the mechanism here, and Substack takes a fee. So I talked about this guy, Kevin Barrett, and I don't know who Kevin Barrett is, but he's an American Muslim and Islamic studies scholar. I don't know him, all right? But he has been demonetized by Stripe, which means he's been demonetized by Substack, and it's hurt a substantial portion of his income. And therefore, this gentleman, Kenaz, also decided that in solidarity, he was going to turn off his own monetization, all right, which is going to cost him upwards of $5,000 plus per year in subscription revenue. But he believes that what Stripe is doing is wrong. So what's happening here again is that Stripe wants to control the narrative, and they want the ability to tell a platform to not just demonetize, but to deplatform a creator. And they just recently updated their terms of service to ask them to do so. So what triggered this whole thing today or this weekend and said, oh, I got to cover this, was Derek Brose of the Conscious Resistance posted that he saw that Odysee had announced via their website that they're dropping Stripe. Wow, okay. What do you mean? He says, glad to see them dropping Stripe rather than comply with their demands to monitor their users and content moderation. What? So I, of course, jump in there to remind him, and Derek is a member of the Last American Vagabond, so I don't know if he was aware that I had written this article about Stripe last year, okay, about how they had too much power and some details and examples of some of the creators that they had already messed with, right? So Derek then continues with this part, and I'm going to read this statement by Odysee, and that's what's going to be included. All right, so it says from Odysee, and this is posted. By the way, did you know that you can actually like blog and post articles on Odysee to Odysee? I kind of did, but I've never really done that. But what they said is, we're dropping Stripe. Changes to our payment system. What? Yes. Good. She says, we're dropping, she says, no. Odysee says, we are dropping Stripe, the payment processor that we were using. It's one thing if Stripe doesn't want certain creators on Odysee to be able to use their service for monetization because of their own policies. We get that. Most people get that. Forcing Odysee to restrict users from using Odysee because they don't align with Stripe's policies, which are not ours, is where we draw the line. That's nonsensical, and it's also none of your business who we platform. We were working with Stripe to facilitate fiat-based creator payments. The arrangement was fine until it wasn't. Recently, a couple of users on Odysee complained to Stripe about other Odysee users that they didn't like who were using Stripe. We saw this also about 18 months ago, or 2 years ago now, in the Substackers Against Nazis argument. And we saw that they were going to go after Stripe. And that was one of the things that facilitated my argument 6 months ago in the article that I had written, was that I think that there were people behind the scenes who were complaining to Stripe to get Ryan Christian demonetized from Stripe and try to take him off of multiple websites, because he has Stripe turned on his own website. He had it turned on for Last American Vagabond on Substack, as well as on Locals. I think he has a Buy Me a Coffee set up, and all those go through his Stripe account, for which Stripe gets a fee every time, by the way. They just don't like what he's saying. And they don't like the fact that this Substackers Against Nazis group, these clowns, come out and they turn around and they go, well, if you're processing their payments, that means that you believe what they say is correct, and therefore you're this. Well, first of all, you can just say no like Substack management did, but that doesn't stop them. And they are, they're relentless. And they continue to go after the processor. And who's the processor? Stripe. And Stripe is also, by the way, Zionist affiliated. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So, Stripe said that they complained about content being in violation of Stripe's policy. Don't ask us why those creators reported them. It only takes a few to spoil a good thing. This prompted Stripe to take a look into many creators on Odysee and request their demonetization if they didn't align with their policy. What? Excuse me? Baking powder? We understood their angle, and it's their choice who they want using their service. It wasn't like they were asking us to kick them off Odysee either. We observed some mistakes they made with demonetization after the fact, though, and we helped those creators get remonetized with Stripe later. But that's a rare thing. Most of the people that they kick off, they don't let back. If this was the conclusion of the matter, everything would be fine, but it wasn't. Here's the bad part. Stripe now wants to know all about our users. They want us to collect all kinds of sensitive information about you, because Stripe doing know your customer checks as the money transmitter is not enough. Users should go through a prior round of arbitrary KYC checks first. What? That's not even the worst offense, though. Stripe requests Odysee's incorporation of third-party moderation tools to ensure that everything Odyssey users post is in alignment with their own policy, even if those users aren't using Stripe for monetization in the first place. They basically want to take over content moderation of a platform.
Yes.
And we know who's running that, which is the NGOs, the State Department, the Hamilton 68s of the world, the GECs that just got reignited, as we saw through the State Department last week. So that's it. We're dropping Stripe. A heartfelt thank you to everyone who purchased Odyssey Premium. Your support means everything to us. The badges you've earned will be permanently displayed on your profile, and they lay out the next steps about how they're going to get new monetization tools. All right. We will no longer take any cuts of tips, purchases, rentals, nor pass on processing fees to users for memberships. Oh my God, that's incredible. Transaction costs to send and receive will be negligible, which also opens the door for microtransactions, e.g. tipping in the pennies. I don't know why anyone would. And lower membership tiers, which I wouldn't set, but okay. But they want to have that payment system in place by the time they disable Stripe. So guess what? It's possible to unplug from Stripe and continue moving forward with a credit card and payment processor. All right. So they're going to have no new Stripe creator accounts. They're going to sunset all the premium memberships. They're going to implement an alternative. They've got a timeline. Content creators will want to let their fans know that a new payment system will be coming. We don't monetize there anyway, so for us it's negligible. Have them keep an eye out for changes on the site and emails from us. However, what they're doing here is going to make me look at that again. Because if we can get free of Stripe, why the fuck wouldn't we? Because it sounds like they're going to demand that Substack at some point allow them to monitor the entire platform as well. And being the exclusive provider for Substack, they're going to allow them to do it. You know, and we're going to talk about why in a minute. So what can you do now? Sign up for an AR Connect wallet extension. All right. That is their crypto wallet thing. That can be used on Odyssey and will allow you to send and receive payments. Also available on mobile, iOS, Android. No need to purchase tokens or do anything else. And then they give you how to do that, right? And then there's a bunch of comments. And you're free, feel free to go there and comment. I will link this in the description after the show. And definitely you'll see it on the Substack article that is dedicated to the show. I think that's really important. And the reason why I think it's really important is because, first of all, we talked about it in June, as you saw. All right. Here's another one who says, takes notice of what Odyssey is doing and says, hey, random note for the heads of Substack, please take notice. That's good. They're also a subscriber to the Substack, i3UTM. Go follow them also on Substack and on Notes. Then what I shared with Derek, as well as this one's an interesting one. And we talked about how Stripe was not available in Africa and in certain countries around the world, which means that Substack was not able to be monetized, with Stripe being the exclusive payment processor. So the people there are literally just watching the people around the world in basically the white Western countries get monetized and make money from their Substacks while they give away all of their intellectual property for free and never monetize it. They consider it to be a two-tiered system and a theft. And there's no reason that Substack couldn't put a payment processing in place specifically for the countries where Stripe either doesn't have a presence at all or has a poor presence, like India, which we covered in the first article that we wrote 7 months ago. All right. And big shout out to Michael Ginsberg. He's Actionable Truths and Actions. I think I'll have that in a minute. But here's another factor to consider. Polymath investors saying that Stripe is preparing for an IPO. Invested at estimated at a $70 billion valuation. The friend asked me if I liked IPOs. First of all, you have to be able to answer the hard questions. Why go public now? Who's selling shares? What are the lockup expirations? How will the proceeds be used? What's their competitive moat? Are their economics sound? Is their growth sustainable? All right. The reality is that most IPOs underperform. Why bother? Because patience beats FOMO. And it's an interesting analysis, especially given what's happened with the Trump coin and this whole meme coin thing over the weekend that soared to a record multi-billion-dollar valuation out of nowhere on Friday night. Stripe, on the other hand, basically, the Trump coin ended up almost worth as much at one point as Stripe itself, which is crazy. Now, beyond IPO, let's remember one thing. And again, Actionable Truths and Actions, Michael Ginsberg, Australian writer, independent, good dude. Right? He actually has sent me a message because I'm like, I saw something tonight. I'm like, we got to get the hell off this platform. It's really bad. He says, I think this is an important point, coupled with the fact that who is Substack's single biggest investor and thus calling the shots. Very important to remember that. And what other ventures they're involved in, Stripe being of particular context. And that biggest investor has the name of Andreessen Horowitz, or Mark Andreessen. Anybody know who Andreessen Horowitz is? Yep. He was just recently interviewed on Joe Rogan. He is part of the New Narrative Normal Network and I believe affiliated somehow with the PayPal Mafia. And definitely a venture capitalist and investor in multiple companies. My guess would be Substack's executives must know the company's growth would be harpooned and Substack would become more of a target than it probably already is if the company started crowing about how its star writers were right and how every other powerful person and organization in the world was wrong. This was talking about COVID specifically and how Substack should be marketing and advertising itself as the rebel platform that got it right during COVID and flourished and became a platform because of the writers there who got it right during COVID when the rest of corporate media got it wrong and lied to us. They seem embarrassed about it because now they're courting the corporate media schmucks who got it all wrong. And they want them to come here, and it's embarrassing for them to have the people who got it right be the stars of the platform because nobody really knows who they are outside of the platform. But they know who Don Lemon is, they know who Chris Cuomo is, so they hype those clowns. Propagandists who sold Pfizer and all kinds of bullshit then. All right? But the biggest thing here is Andreessen Horowitz owns both Substack and Stripe. They are making double dipping on every single payment that happens on Substack. They're getting paid because they're an owner of Substack, and they're getting paid because they're an owner of Stripe. Stripe makes fees on every Substack transaction. So they're double dipping, which is the reason why you've seen Substack stay exclusive. And they won't tell you that.
Yep.
But we will. All right. That's what's happening. That's why Stripe sucks. Oh, yeah. And by the way, their CEO back in October posted a trolling, I think it was a trolling tweet, where he was thrilled to be back in Tel Aviv. It was just a picture of an empty street. He was out for a run. It was really weird that he did it. It was like he was announcing that he was a Zionist without saying it, and it stirred up a ton of controversy. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it off the top of my head to show here, but anyone who could find it, if you want to share it in the chat, please feel free to. But yeah, this is news to you, even Golden Monarch. That's interesting. I thought you would have known that Andreessen Horowitz is not just investors in Substack and Stripe, but several other large organizations as well. They're making sure that they're going to profit from the entire content creator ecosphere. All right. So that's what's happening there. Shout out to everybody over on Rumble. Thank you for watching over on Rumble as well. Peter Thielville. Look, Rumble, I love Rumble and Locals as well, but that is an intelligence gathering operation. And we're going to talk about Rumble at the end because Rumble got a massive infusion of cash from Tether, which is a cryptocurrency that is
3 million or something like that.
Like 775 million, more like. Something like that.
More like it.
All right. So again, talking about topics like Stripe, which no one else talks about, is why we get, pushed down in the algorithm, demonetized, deplatformed on the TikTok side. All right. Which now they're back, but we're not getting back on TikTok. Support the media you want to see. Everybody there did. Just about everybody in chat I see is already on that sheet. And God, we love you for it. Thank you so much, really. Cash App is the best way to do that. I would like to get off of Substack even as far as payment processing. All right. Ko-fi, we're using PayPal, which is PayPal Mafia. I'd like to get off PayPal Mafia stuff as well. Cash App is Square, which is slightly better. That's Jack, who used to, who's the founder of Twitter. He's also the CEO of Square. So again, that's our supporters wall of fame. Gilgamesh last week picked up a monthly subscription over on Patreon. Thank you so much for that. And again, if you can do that over on one of those places, really appreciate it. It really helps. I want to talk about, holy shit, what's going on in California and what's going on in North Carolina and what they're doing to try to help the people that have been affected by the disasters that have happened there. So nobody here likes Gavin Newsom. Boo, boo, right? We're all in agreement that Gavin Newsom sucks. However, much to his credit, he says, I just signed an executive order excusing late property tax payments for those impacted by the LA firestorms through April 10th, 2026. Now that is state property taxes. That's not local, obviously. He can't do that.
Federal, right.
Well, no, not federal, obviously. There are no federal property taxes, but state property taxes.
Yeah, local,
and then you've got municipal, county, etc. He can't suspend all of them. All right. But California will continue to do all we can to support our SoCal communities and get them all the help they need. Right. So that's nice. And our friend Matt Van Swole tags the governor and says, this is the way. Right. That's the North Carolina governor, Josh Stein. Hey, North Carolina governor, why did you not do this for the people of Western North Carolina in all caps? Right. Because not only that, but again, extending the deadline. California's here for the survivors. And then you've got American Psycho himself, Gavin Newsom. All right. And I'm not going to play his blabbering. Now, I did want to play this video, which is only 28 seconds, but I want to give it a little bit of preface first. You know, we've been covering Matt's story quite a bit, and I almost feel like he's going to end up running for office. Like, he's going to parlay this into something. He'll get a show on maybe Fox News or somewhere. Like, he's developed himself into a personality and a celebrity. He's got a big following now, and he's been helping people incredibly every day. Now, he says, I finally made it to the Blue Ridge Parkway in Western North Carolina for the first time this winter. I barely recognize it. There are more trees lying on the ground than there are standing up. I've honestly never seen anything like this. I'm going to rewind this and watch this drive. It's kind of heartbreaking. It's just stillness everywhere. You should be able to hear it. I don't know if there's sound. But it's just like driving through dead forest.
Yep.
Is what it is. You just, there's no leaves on any trees. Anywhere. Like evergreen. Nothing. Or anywhere. As far as you can see. All right. So I wanted to bring that because Matt shared that. He also shared this one. Holy crap. This came, and he's been fighting like crazy to make sure that the people of North Carolina, and he created this whole spreadsheet and a hotline for people to call in so he can be a central hub to gather all this stuff because FEMA's not answering the phones. So he decided to set this up with his wife and some other members of the community Incredible. North Carolina Senator Ted Budd has confirmed that FEMA has been kicking out Western North Carolina residents into the cold from hotels that were supposed to be extended. It's unclear whether FEMA correctly communicated the extensions to the hotels after their 8:12 p.m. post on Twitter. Crazy. All right. All right. My office is hearing again. That was from one of the two senators from North Carolina. I don't follow politicians. All right. We really need propane and heaters. All right. I've never done this before, but I've set up a gift list for propane heaters here. If you're able, please purchase one for someone in Western North Carolina that needs one. That was January 15th. He says, oh my God, you bought them all in 15 minutes after I posted this. Thank you.
Propane and propane accessories.
Mutual aid is all we have. I mean, we are getting ourselves out of this. The only things that we are. No, not this mutual aid couple. They did not get arrested by the FBI, to my knowledge. If they do, I will break down whatever jailhouse they're in to make sure they get the fuck out. Because these people have been doing nothing but helping and doing the Lord's work for 5 months with nobody really supporting them other than each other. So then he continues to say here, holy crap. So now this is the next day after the senator gets them an extension. All right. Buncombe County confirms it doesn't even have a ballpark guess of how many people are still waiting on FEMA's help. This comes just days after dozens of families, some with small kids, were kicked out of FEMA hotels and into the winter cold. Look at this. Okay, I gotta turn off the music.
Yep.
Again, he does great short videos that are awesome to show overhead. And you can kind of see the progress. It's starting to snow. That's still a barn in the river. They haven't dragged it out. Buildings still not cleaned out and dragged, kind of dug out. I know. Reeve's going to say this reminds him of Katrina. Like months later, and it still looks like it did when it first happened.
Places still like that. Still look like that after Katrina, so.
And they're getting, they're getting snow. Seven Sword Mary says Buncombe is really a poor part of the state. That's right. All right.
Anna Mary says it's 3 degrees here in Iowa.
Now, I did want to shout out, and last week's show when we talked about this, I said that there was one charity that was doing some amazing work to get people into homes, and they're called Mercury One. Matt had shared this last week, but this family is one of the families, and thank goodness they blurred the kids' faces out. One of the families that you saved this weekend in Western North Carolina. This family has lost everything due to Hurricane Helene. This single mother and her 5 children, all under the age of 10, were kicked out of their motel room granted to them by the FEMA Transitional Shelter Program because their dog was too large to stay in the motel. The family had nowhere to go during a winter storm with sub-freezing temperatures. They called Matt. Desperate, crying. Mercury One was able to step in and provide a cabin for this family so they had somewhere warm and safe to stay through the weekend. With children under the age of 10, their lives were at stake if they would have been left in the cold. Thanks to the generosity of Emergency RV, this family is receiving an RV and will now have a place to call home during the uncertainty of the FEMA Transitional Shelter Program. Lives were saved this weekend because of you. We have been able to pay for over 670 nights of hotel stays that will be extended whenever FEMA's TSA program expires, so no family has to worry. Wow. There'll be more to come as we are currently coordinating with local hotels to continue to help hurricane victims. Again, people helping each other, federal government nowhere to be seen and only in the way. An impediment. Like 93 little houses have been delivered. Also working on long-term solutions so families can have somewhere to call home and communities can start to be restored. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. And again, shout out, kudos to Glenn Beck for getting the story out there. We may not like him. He's got a big reach. Sean Hendricks as well. Right? Anyone who's got access to a platform that isn't talking about this, why? Why are you not talking about this? These are Americans that are left out starving and freezing. And he was showing lines for propane today. Wow. Miles. But the incompetence doesn't end in North Carolina. World Socialist website, who I bring 2 articles from tonight. This is the first of the 2. Right? This is a combined article written by a lot of the staff out there about how the LA fire survivors face arduous federal aid process and delayed payouts. Well, we could have told you that based upon what had happened in East Palestine, based upon what had happened in Conyers, Georgia, based upon what had happened in Asheville, Western North Carolina, South Carolina, and Eastern Tennessee. So this is Bainbridge Island, okay, Washington fire crew, right, in Pacific Palisades. Look at the foundation, just right down to the floors. Oh, God, just awful. All right, so there's a long article here. All right, over 150,000 Angelenos have been forced to evacuate at a moment's notice with virtually no support from city, state, federal governments. Many forced to flee to the homes of families and friends, hotels, Airbnbs if they can afford them, or to a handful of emergency shelters set up by FEMA. However, only 569 public shelter beds have been open to the public. I'm going to repeat that. 569 public shelter beds out of 150,000 Angelenos displaced, leaving most wildfire victims effectively homeless. All right. The fires have caused an estimated $275 billion in property damage, far surpassing a FEMA annual budget at $20 billion per year. Well, a lot of that, again, is going to be replaced by insurance and not FEMA to begin with, but that's not the point. What was that? Over 10,000 structures destroyed thus far, mostly single-family residences, and the idea is going to be that they're going to try to rebuild multifamily community housing. All right, 24,000 acres, only 31% contained still. All right, in the Palisades fire, 65% containment on the Eaton fire. This was published when? The 17th, so just the other day, just Friday night. All right, this is Kevin Reed over there. Oh, no, this is the consortium before. Kevin Reed's the other article. Similar to the victims of Katrina, Lahaina, and other climate change power disasters, well, not just climate change, but also mismanagement by their own government locally. Victims of Palisades and Eaton fires have largely been left to fend for themselves, as insurance companies and FEMA have placed bureaucratic barriers between them and financial aid. Didn't take the deed to your house? You might need it in order to prove your insurance policy. FEMA is offering one-time payments of $770 to uninsured victims of the LA wildfires to pay for things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. And what will they do in 2 weeks? These payments are a pittance for those who have lost everything, and there's little indication that more aid is on the way. Uninsured homeowners are being offered up to $43,600 in housing aid by FEMA and an additional $10,000 from the California State Supplemental Grant Program. Victims are also potentially eligible for up to $500,000 in loans through the Small Business Administration until they run out of money. These grants will hardly be enough to make residents whole when the average cost of a home in Altadena exceeds $1.2 million, according to Zillow. And I wouldn't even use, I don't hear that. I have no soundboard
Yep.
for you. But thank you. But this isn't even Dr. Evil level housing. Like a little 1,200 square foot nothing house is $1 million there, $950. Right? On no property.
I mean, Dr. Evil would put at least lasers on the houses.
On their freaking laser beams on their freaking heads. Yes,
Is
he
it
might.
an evil petting zoo?
It might be. All right. Before the fires, several national for-profit insurance companies, including State Farm, Allstate, and Farmers Insurance, either stopped offering home insurance or fled from California entirely. An analysis by CBS News found that 1,600 policies in Pacific Palisades were dropped by State Farm in July alone. And then they canceled insurance for over 2,000 additional homes and businesses in the LA neighborhoods, including Brentwood and Montanito. Right? So that's not good, right? More than 100,000 Californians lost their home insurance. Right? Even insured victims of the fires are struggling. The average time between filing a complicated insurance claim and receiving payment is between 12 and 18 months. All right. Now, you've got to get an adjuster from that insurance company out there. If you know what you're doing and you know you've been in the know, you've done this before, you might hire a private adjuster to work with the adjuster. But most people won't. And they'll walk alongside, but they won't know what it. Right. It's not that they couldn't afford it. The private adjuster takes a percentage of whatever the payout is that they get from the insurance company, and they make sure you end up getting a whole lot more. But homeowners forced off of private fire insurance have been forced to enroll in the California Fair Access to Insurance Requirements Plan, right? FAIR, which provides basic insurance at exorbitant rates that most people can't afford. But these high premiums aren't high enough to cover all the claims, right? So that's going to go bankrupt, right? Homeowners can expect an additional $1,000 to $3,700 a year surcharge just to keep the insurer solvent. Jesus. What a mess. All right. Yep. There's a lot to this article, again, at World Socialist website. I'm going to link this in the description. I want to move on and get to our next one. Like I said, I had a lot of stuff today. And the next one was also that Matt reported that representatives from both California and North Carolina are calling for FEMA to be completely overhauled, as LA victims are also now getting rejected by FEMA. 48 hours after they kicked dozens of Western North Carolina families out of their homes. All right. Now, from what we've seen, FEMA has extended the deadline for people to get out of the hotels to the 25th of January. But as I reminded Matt, winter doesn't end on January 25th.
Nope.
What are we going to do? What are they going to do? The Appalachian Podcast wants to eliminate, move on. They need some kind of a mechanism federally to be able to offer relief quickly when people have something happen to them like this. I am a big believer that is something we need to do. All right. Now, hi, everybody. This is great. I appreciate everyone being here. Real quick, support independent media, please, if you can. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal. That too. That's nice. PayPal, INNnewsletter.com. Pick up a subscription there. Of course, Stripe will get a percentage of it, and we got to deal with that for now. But Cash App if you can. Appreciate that. If not, Ko-fi, Substack, or share the show if you can't afford to, and we totally get that too. Times are tough for everybody. Subscriptions, or you can pick up a subscription on Rumble. We get 100% of that delivered to our bank account directly. That's always good. So, Sean, how are you, brother? Good to see you. Appreciate you. Did you hook something up over here? Did I miss something? Probably. You did last night, and I missed it. Natalie did earlier. Thank you so much. And all right. So our next story, and it's the last story I'm going to cover tonight, the feature story. All right. And we're going to talk about some Indie Media Award honorees. They went to a press briefing. A funny thing happened on the way to the press briefing, or when the press briefing got going. Max Blumenthal was there alongside Sam Husseini. This was Antony Blinken's final press conference. And Max decided he was going to say something to Antony Blinken because this might be his last.
This speech is boring and paranoid.
Yes, it might be his last opportunity to potentially ever speak to Antony Blinken and have him know that it was him speaking to him. So I understand why he did what he did.
Hey, Blinken. Did you say Abe Lincoln? No, I say Abe Lincoln. I said, hey, Blinken.
No, hey, Blinken.
Hold the reins, man.
Seriously. That was Robin Hood Men in Tights, wasn't it?
It was Robin Hood Men.
That's great. I love it.
Was that?
That's great. Gotta love Max. That's right, Seven Swords. Yes, Max was awesome. All right, so again, Kevin Reed, World Socialist website, writes a nice article about it on Friday. This happened Thursday, or Friday night he wrote it, published it. Reporter dragged from Blinken's final press briefing for asking about U.S. support for Gaza genocide. Because after Max got carried out, or got dragged out, Sam Husseini then speaks up a few minutes later and asks a question, and you're going to understand why in a minute. He said that State Department spokesman Matthew Miller told him he was not going to have his question answered, so he figured, why the hell not? I might as well speak up and ask it now. And, you know, earlier, Jesse Jett, in Speaker of the House, the song, says, you know, respect for the process. And
the movie?
And Antony Blinken says to him, respect the process. So what happened? What had happened? Let's watch the video first. And Decensored News reconstructed it. Also, Indie Media Award honoree, just all around Indie Media Award honorees.
In particular, Jake Sullivan, Bill Burns, Brett McGurk, for their remarkable skill.
He's thanking
tireless
warmongers
dedication over these many months of negotiation.
Will you recognize the Geneva Conventions apply to the Palestinians?
And again, I'm happy to address questions when we have a chance. I'm happy to address questions in a moment. Thank you.
Answer it.
We celebrate the return of hostages in Gaza, including Americans, as we look to relief for the people of Gaza. I'm also thinking of all those U.S. citizens who are held wrongfully, who are hostage in countries around the world.
Do you know about the Hannibal Directive? Miller says he doesn't know about the Hannibal Directive. Do you know about the Hannibal Directive?
Again, I'm happy to address questions.
No, I want him to answer my question.
I look forward to answering
He's
questions.
He's going to speak for an hour.
Okay, well, we'll let him speak. We're here for him. Thank you.
He gets to make lots of speeches. Let him answer some questions.
Let
him answer some questions.
Oh, Count Smirkula.
Another speech every day.
Sir, would you like to be escorted out?
Go away.
You don't have the responsibility to tell me where to go. Do you want to be
You go away. Sir, would you like to be? No, I would not like to be escorted
I'm
out.
not a potted plant.
I'm a journalist. I'm not a potted plant.
In just a minute. Thank you.
Miller has
Which is a
explicitly
quote
told me he will not
from-
answer my questions. I'm justified in what I'm
I
doing.
forget somebody.
I have
I can't stop this
no
for some reason.
greater pleasure in this job than crossing off a list I carry in my pocket, the names of those who have been arbitrarily detained and unfairly held hostage, unjustly held hostage, to their families, returning to their loved ones. Finally, I
Get
just
your
wanted
hands
to share
off
this
me.
morning.
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Answer a damn question.
I look
Do you know
forward to
about the
answering
Hannibal
questions in
Directive?
advance.
Do you know about Israel's nuclear weapons? Everybody from the ICJ. I was sitting here quietly, and now I'm being manhandled by 2 or 3 people. You pontificate about a free press. You pontificate about a free press. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. I am asking questions after being told by Matt Miller that he will not answer my questions, and so I'm asking
Please,
questions.
sir, respect the process.
Respect the process.
Wasn't the point of the
Fuck your process.
May 31st statement to block the ICJ orders? You blocked the ICJ orders. You
Please, sir, respect the process. Thank you.
Oh, respect the process. Respect the process. Well, everybody from Amnesty International to the ICJ saying that Israel's doing genocide and extermination, and you're telling me to respect the process. Criminal! Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague?
Why aren't you in The Hague, you fucking douchebag? All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Sam.
Bookmark Husseini.org.
Husseini.org. That's Sam. Shout out to also Indie Media Award honoree Decensored News for putting that compilation together of a bunch of different angles, 3 or 4 different camera angles, including Ryan Grimm, who sat there and filmed instead of getting up and trying to help him. God forbid you fucking put the camera down and help him. Respect the process. Respect my nuts, Anthony Blinken. All right? So, before we get to my opinions and everybody else's, I want to give Sam another bit of the floor here. He says, first, no other major new U.S. news organization has reached out to me, which is fucking disgraceful. He said, I suspect they're desperate that the public not look at how murderous U.S. government policy is or think about what journalism should be. And what I said was, they're afraid to let you speak for fear of retribution from the Democrats and the donor class, weak as fuck by all the corporate stooges. All right. So, something else. I woke up this morning and I was still really mad, or yesterday morning, I was still really mad about this whole thing. And I realized that this was a psyop in a way designed to make us mad. They carried him out to trigger all the journalist community and to create this indignance and this anger towards the outgoing administration and Blinken, and set up this adversarial relationship even further.
Speculation.
No, I don't have to speculate. That's why they're doing it. They did it to trigger us all and get us talking about this for days and making this the story and not that, or at least part of the story.
Like not many people even talked about this comparatively.
Okay.
None of the mainstream did.
Because they were under orders not to. So what Sam says is that there are 3 things in this photo that virtually nobody else noticed, but I did. So one of them is right here on his leg. And he's going to talk about that right here. A few might notice the keffiyeh beneath my right leg. It's from my dad, who was driven out of the Galilee in Palestine in 1948 as a child. I told part of his story here at his Husseini.substack.com. Okay. May 15th, 2023. All right. He also says there's the pens and the expo marker in memory of the poet and teacher Rafat Al-Arir, who was assassinated by Imperial Israel on December 6th of 2023. His remarks to Electronic Intifada in the video below to understand the pen is mightier than the sword. And he says basically that if he had nothing left and they came to his home, he would throw an expo marker at them. But if they invade, I'm going to use that marker to throw it at them, even if it's the last thing I'd be able to do. You know what? I'm going to play it.
We know that it's very bleak. It's very dark. There's no way out. If there's no water, there is no way out of Gaza. What should we do? Like drown? Like commit mass suicide? Is this what Israel wants? And we're not going to do that. And I was telling some friend the other day that I'm an academic. Probably the toughest thing I have at home is an expo marker. But if the Israelis invade, if they charge at us, open door to door to massacre us, I'm going to use that marker, throw it at the Israeli soldiers, even if that is the last thing that I would be able to do. And this is the feeling of everybody. We are helpless. We have nothing to lose. We know that it's very bleak.
Jesus.
It's very bleak.
Hear that bomb dropping at the last minute there.
Yeah.
Those 4 from the Electronic Intifada. So there's the pen. And then finally, there was a third thing underneath that group. Here, let me go back. Finally, there's my laptops. You see the back of the new one. The old one that you see on the back of the screen, that you see the screen has a Husseini.org bumper sticker on the back. If I'd planned this out, that bumper sticker would have been in the shot. All right.
Which they frequently avoid, like putting in frame.
Right. There it is.
There it is.
I wanted to bring up a photo that where it existed and you can see it. And he said that often there were times where they would not zoom in on other reporters because it would have his logo and his URL in the shot. State Department's so petty, they cropped the shot so Sam's website can't be seen. Yep. So, of course, here come all of the international organizations to virtue signal and decide that they want to pile on. And here comes the CPJ. I'm no fan of the CPJ because of the crap that they did over Assange. We're concerned that 2 journalists were removed yesterday from Secretary of State Antony Blinken's final press conference. They can't even spell his first name right. While we do not condone the interruption of the press conference, you don't? Forcibly removing the reporters undercuts the United States support for freedom of the press at home and abroad. So no, you would rather them have sat there quietly for an hour, shut up like good little boys, never gotten to answer their questions, and slinked away like nothing. That's what you would rather them have done?
Yep.
That's the Committee to Protect Journalists saying that.
Or usually dog shit.
So, so here comes Sam with a haymaker, and I love it. Thanks for the vague concern, but well-funded NGOs are so detached from reality. As I said, as I was being hauled away, they told me they had a policy of not taking my questions. As I said, as I was being hauled away, Blinken was basically giving yet another pontificating speech while overseeing a genocide. And after I was hauled away, what happened in the briefing room? Miller, who oversaw my getting hauled away, picked who got called on. They didn't even call on, and who is it? This is the other reporter, Saeed Arikat, right? Okay, who writes for Al Quds Daily, right? Decorum makes it so that the people who need the most scrutiny get the least, and I'm sick of it. Fuck yeah.
Which why let him in if you aren't going to ask his questions? Just don't. You have the ability to tell people there's plenty of journalists not allowed in.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. You are the representative of the people.
Remove his credentials.
Right. So that's the part of Sam that I got super upset. So then what happens is that corporate media, and there are 2 CNN reporters in the room, they decide to frame it as Blinken's final press conference interrupted by protesters. You fuckers. Okay, actually, it was by journalists dragged out after raising objections to Gaza policy, but Asal-Rad fixed it for you. Thanks. Look at the picture and then the headline. With 2 other journalists filming the whole thing on their phones, put the phone down and help
say
them.
Nothing.
Well, they don't want to get kicked out. What are they going to do? God forbid
the whole thing's being filmed anyway. So.
All right. Since CNN employs clowns to regurgitate Israeli talking points, they don't know what a journalist is. Gen X girl. I'll be talking to Gen X girl a week from Tuesday, hopefully, if all goes well. Here's our friend Sabi Sabs. Corporate media is creating a narrative about independent journalists. They're calling them protesters or activists. This is intentional. If they call them journalists, that sparks curiosity from the average viewer, and that's the last thing they want. Right? Again, you see the keffiyeh right there under his leg. And the pen right there.
Yep.
Try reloading. Okay. Oh, here's Fee. Fee with the video. Right? You can see Sam shaking, trying to hang on to the desk. He doesn't want to go. Let everyone know this is what the State Department does to a journalist asking real questions And this is what's coming for anyone doing the same thing. You won't see this in China, Russia, or Iran, though. Just saying. Of course, Fee joined Red Note, posted this on there, follow her there. Just a heckler asking questions, says CNN. They have no shame, but we knew this. More people should see it, though.
Yeah, okay. Hecklers don't get let into the room. Like,
right, into the press briefing. Right. But even how it's framed. Man asking questions. Man asking questions. Credentialed reporter, as Kevin Gostola reminded them. And here's my take. I said, first of all, Sam, I know why you didn't do it. And this was underneath, he quote tweets Max, and he says, following this, I tried to ask a series of questions, was carried out and handcuffed, completely excessive force, more to come. I said, I know why you didn't do it, but I was screaming, fuck your process, Tony, at my phone as he attempted to gaslight you while having you forcibly removed. Disgraceful what these clowns are doing on their way out. And kudos again to Sam, award-winning journalist. Independent, been doing it for decades. I mean decades. I vetted this guy. I researched him. He's an Indie Media Award winner, honoree for a reason. Right? Max's speech was great too. I think a lot of people have heard Max Blumenthal's speech at Tony Blinken. Allegedly, according to Common Dreams, he started this 3 minutes into Blinken's speech. He didn't let Blinken really start to go off. And man, did he call him out. It was great. But I do want to keep the focus on Sam here. So I wrote that I'm extremely proud of this guy today over what happened today in the White House. It was actually the State Department press briefing room. More disgraceful is that no other corporate news organization has reached out to him to tell his side, almost like there's a blanket order, or because they're complicit in genocide. Hashtag journalism is not a crime. And I'm still waiting for Substack to pick up hashtags, because at some point, all the posts I've written with them will work. All right. And Sam, I told him, you're welcome on INN anytime. We would love to share your story. And I linked to his Indie Media Award honoree page that we built out for him that has links to all of his profiles everywhere where you can follow and support him. All right. As well as the Zago Brothers illustration. Shout out to Lucio Zago for the beautiful artwork. Thank you to all the INN supporters for helping make that happen. All right. But I wasn't the only one who weighed in on this by all means. All right. T-Lev, all these so-called journalists in the room, meekly standing by as the real journalist is dragged from the room for asking real questions, are absolute cowards. Can't risk your access journalism. You're just plastic resistance, an illusion, and you know it. All right. Ryan Christian, Last American Vagabond, another Indie Media Award honoree on an inaugural class 2022. And here's Misty weighing in. Not at all surprising from a room full of journalists who stayed silent as Assange was tortured. Don't forget, we are all Assange, cowards. All right, Kevork saying, what's striking about the footage of Sam at the press conference is the absolute lack of shame or courage among the men in that room. Not one had the spine to stand up to a respected senior journalist as he was dragged out like an object. Jason Burmis. Now, the next morning afterwards, Sam said, I barely slept. And then he shared the decensored news video. And I actually replied to him and said, I got about 4 hours, but it was honestly the first thing I thought about waking up in the morning, which is why I think that it kind of got to me. And I think it was designed to get to the people who have been closely following this every day. And it was so penetrating my head and thoughts and beyond where it should have. Look, it's important. It is, but should it have been the first thing I thought about when I woke up in the morning? Still mad about it? No. I gotta work on that. And this all has to have its place. But, this thread also includes past deceptions from the State Department, like when they told him that they would give him equal time and all kinds of stuff. There's a really good thread from Sam. So check that out. And Jason Burma saying we need more people like Sam Husseini. Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Asal Rod asks a very interesting question. If an adversary was banning social media apps, using prison labor to fight fires, dragging journalists off for objecting to government policies and committing genocide, there would be calls for sanctions and regime change. So at this point, the U.S. needs to invade itself.
Agreed.
Very clever and agreed.
Yeah.
Right? So finally, we've got here Roger Waters. We know that guy. Tell like it is, Sam. Respect R. All right, so I saw Roger over there weighing in on this. He saw it. He's showing solidarity. That's a Palestine.
You like calling the cat?
That's a Palestinian flag that Substack won't show.
Won't show on Substack? What?
And I'm gonna
weird.
I'm gonna let
Guess it's just
Zago.
no emojis or whatever.
I'm gonna let Zago have the final word here. Real journalists, Max and Sam, are national treasures. And these are their Zago illustrations that he had put together for them. For the original poster, I believe, back in July, which was the Truth Tellers poster. And they were both on there, by the way.
Yep.
Awesome. Aaron needs a drawing too. Oh, we got one. And then this is the one that has everyone that he drew, except for one guy that's not on there because he didn't draw his face. Oh, right. I'm not on there. Right. I only had everyone there made. Oh, right. Okay, cool. Anyway, so that's what happened with Max and Sam. And journalism is not a crime. As scrolls across that ticker, it's scrolling right now, literally. Journalism is not a crime. These guys got hauled out of a press briefing for asking questions and challenging the narrative on Gaza and calling Antony Blinken a warmonger and an imperialist to his face. Max literally asked Antony if he was controlled by AIPAC and the Israel lobby and the Zionism. He was incredible. Go watch that. All right. I know I'm running long. I figured I was going to run a little long, and I got a couple more things I want to show here. Just headlines.
As long as you know who the enemies are. As long as you know.
Well,
time. Make sure you know.
Time is always our enemy.
Anybody hungry? Maybe we should stop at an eye.
What? That was weird. That wasn't the right one.
What a crowd! What a crowd!
Thank you.
Where is it?
Thank you, Rodney.
What happened?
Well, while we're waiting for that, let's put this up so that people know where to.
Our enemies are all those in league with imperialism, the bureaucrats, the big landlord class, and the reactionary section of the intelligentsia attached to them.
Where to support independent journalism.
That's what I was looking for.
Independent media and independent shows that cover, support, and amplify independent journalism that will tell their story and not let corporate media try to filter this shit through. All right. That's what we do here at INN. So thank you. I love you all. I'm so glad that you're here. Again, this is How Do We Miss That? It is Sunday night, about to be Monday morning. We are going to get to boats in a few minutes. I had 4 things I want to show you first. First, number 1, Kevin Gostola, Indie Media Award honoree, put out an article detailing Biden's legacy. The world is more unsafe for journalists. I highly recommend people read that. It's a 10-minute read over at thedissenter.org. I will again include all these links in the description. I am a paid annual supporter of The Dissenter. I am a big fan of Kevin's, and he also was really upset about what happened to Sam Husseini. Next, you teased it a little earlier, but Rumble, back in December, while we were on a little bit of a break, announced we were talking about how Rumble was going to try to have to find some cash infusion. Well, guess what? They found it, and boy, did they find it. A $775 million strategic investment from Tether. All right. They're getting shares in the company. They're going to probably drive the payment solutions, cloud, crypto, advertising toward crypto. Tether has its own issues, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. But this is going to bail Rumble out from the $10 million a month or $10 million a month burn that they've been pushing through. And my guess is they're going to burn even more than $10 million a month now that they have this kind of money to try to get profitable, to invest in more technology, to invest in more creators, in more verticals and mediums. I heard them talking about how they now want to appeal to cooking shows and people who cook on their channel. They want to bring everybody over to Rumble because they realize that the big selling point of YouTube, like Reef always says, is the volume of content that's there, not just in the political sphere, but in the gaming world, in stupid pet tricks, in sports, in everything. So Rumble is now making a push to go big, and they're going to take this money and do it. All right. Now, not so fast, though. Now, Chris Pavlovsky, he says that Tether and Bitcoin are the future, and he just actually made a deal to have Rumble servers host all the cloud services for the country of El Salvador, which has been a big Bitcoin thing as well. It's like a big little cabal consortium of people and organizations that seem to be emerging that are a concerning pattern. They're going to have a lot of control over the financial system. And what's going on with Tether? Well, let's rely on our friend Whitney Webb here. Tether. Now, Tether is what they call a stable coin. It was intimately involved in the FTX scandal. It has the FBI and Secret Service on its platform surveilling its users. It openly states that its main goal is to help spread dollar hegemony globally, which it does through de facto digital dollarization. And it has seized people's USDT whenever the Treasury's OFAC puts them on their naughty list. That's all bad. It's not freedom money, as they've been selling it. It's the newest phase of the US dollar debt slavery system and acts as a de facto CBDC in terms of its threats to financial liberty. All right. It is a private sector digital currency, but the US's national security state mass surveillance efforts have always been public-private partnerships. Why would the CBDC effort be any different? All right. So what's happening here is Richard Grinnell is writing this article about how Tether is going to rescue the U.S. Treasury. Now, what has been happening, and I'm going to bring this article, and this is a long article from the Cryptocalypse Chronicles, all right? Trump's transition, this is from September. Trump's transition team is tethered to thievery, talking about Howard Lutnick.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, right. Howard Lutnick is the CEO of Tether. He also is now going to be the head of the Commerce Department. All right. He's the co-chair of the Trump transition team. And yeah, he's very involved here. So read this. The big thing that I wanted to point out is that what he says is that Tether takes money. Here we go. What is Tether? Here's a good mental model. All right. Think organized crime. Think organized crime groups. All right. Tether is the accounting system that keeps this cast of supervillains to share the bank account, keeping track of who owns how much of the money in the account at any given time. Cantor Fitzgerald acts as the bank. All right. Okay. Tether makes money because Cantor Fitzgerald earns interest. A whole lot of interest paid directly by the Treasury into Tether's pocket, none of which is ever passed on to Tether's customers, as would be expected in any normal financial operation that involved taking custody of customer money. Okay. Okay, by many metrics, Tether is one of the most profitable companies in human history, often reporting more quarterly income than Goldman Sachs.
Wow.
Wow. But here's the best part. I'm looking for it. But they effectively take the money that's invested in Tether and put it into a Cantor Fitzgerald investment account where they've been buying Bitcoin and leveraging it. So they're making profit on the Bitcoin, they're making profit on the interest, and then they're paying out a 1-for-1 for every dollar that was originally put in, keeping the difference.
Have a good time with your Bitcoin,
Insane.
your crypto, and everything else that you're playing with.
This whole Ponzi thing is insane. All right? Here, if you give Tether $100, they'll give you 100 USDT, US dollar Tether tokens. All right? And if you give Tether 100 tokens, they almost promise to give you $100. All right?
Yep.
Once you exchange your real money into cryptocurrency, you and your newly purchased tokens are loosed into the Hobbesian jungle of international criminal finance. I don't know if I agree with all that, but it's a place where the life of your capital is likely to be nasty, brutish, and short because it's going to get put into a Cantor Fitzgerald account. So that's crazy shit. All right. So now, the Cryptocalypse Chronicles. Check that out. You sent me this article, Reef, earlier in the week. I did not get a chance to get to it, but I do want people to read it, about the two Joe Lorias and the recklessness of AI. And the fact that AI wouldn't just say that there were two Joe Lorias, but it rather kind of combined and conflated their stories and created one that didn't exist.
Made
in the
up
process.
entire books about them. Lots of weirdness. Like entire books he didn't write.
Yep.
Complete with publishers and everything. So
that's what they used to do. That's what they did to Bat Taibbi over at Gemini too. The other one that I think you sent me this. Taxpayers are suing U.S. reps for funding the genocide. This was about 12 days ago, and I think a lot of people missed this one. Marjorie Cohen over at Truth Out wrote this one up. But that 500 federal taxpayers from 10 Northern California counties filed an unprecedented class action lawsuit against their congressional representatives. All right. Sean Donnelly et al. Versus Mike Thompson and Jared Huffman charges that two Democratic Congress members illegally abused their tax and spend authority on April 20th when they voted for the Israel Security Supplemental Appropriations Act, which authorized another $26 billion for military aid to Israel. Very interesting. I highly recommend everyone read that one too. That will be linked. So those were the ones I had. And then, of course, during the week, I was on Hardlens. So you can check that out over at indiemediatoday.com. The link is in the guest appearances section right there. You can watch the full show there. We read the Don't Feed the Trolls article, and I went through that with Kit. That was interesting. We also talked about private firefighters in California. We talked about a cat fight between Nancy Mace and a congresswoman in Texas. It was a fun show, so definitely go check that out. I also wanted to make mention, I have apologies to Golden Monarch. Tuesday, we recorded a podcast of an hour and a half, but somehow operator error, hit the button to turn off his microphone live 25 minutes into the stream. And the last hour is me answering questions, asking him questions, and then a complete silence in between because Indy screwed up. So we're going to do that again. We'll have him back. We're working on a schedule. We were going to try to do it Thursday. Things didn't work out. We'll have that happen soon. This Tuesday, there will be a Jesse's Jett show, so I'm guessing I probably won't have time to get to it this Tuesday, but we will definitely get to it in very soon in the near future. Sign up for INNnewsletter.com. You'll get a daily update, and I send one out Sunday for the weekend edition. That's all of the clips, articles, live streams, everything that's happening at INN throughout the day. You'll get that around 6 o'clock in the evening Eastern time. And then the weekly update will go out every Friday around 6:45 Eastern time. That's usually when I try to get it out there. And that's been going for over a year and a half now. Every single Friday, we haven't missed one yet. So definitely sign up for that. absolutely free and on a give as you can basis. Reef, I'm guessing, is going to drop the link to Boats in the chat. That will be live over on the Ocho on both channels. Before I do, we're going to do some experimenting. If you get in that comment section under this video and just put as many hot button keywords as you can come up with in the comments, we'll see if it makes the video do better. You know? That's awesome. Like, I don't know. Pick some keywords you think the algorithm would like. You know? We watched the
leave that down in there.
We watched the spiffing Brit video where he recommended that people definitely don't do that at all. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't put keywords in the comments of things that might be hot and people might be searching for, because that might find more. Don't put AI and all the fun keywords that you could think of. And Trump's inauguration and all the different things that people might be searching. That might trigger
all the things.
A search in the algorithm. But yeah, INN newsletter as well as IndieMediaToday.com. Both of those, again, you'll get all the clips here that are sent out in the mornings. The weekly update when I'm allowed to send a cross post. There was a glitch this weekend on Substack. I couldn't send the weekly out here. Our original articles and appearances. That's what is on this website. So we're running a little past midnight. I figured it was going to run long. This is going to be a big show, and it was. And thank you, everyone, for putting up with me, and for putting up with us. And this was a lot of fun, despite the horrible topics that we have to talk about. Who are these people? These people are the best people. And one more time, I'm going to put up the slide to support the network, to fund the media that you want to see. These people have already done so. Cash App. $ Indie News Network is the best way to do it. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. INNnewsletter.com. Those are the best ways to do that. Really appreciate if you're able to. If not, just share the show. Enjoy the content. And we're going to get out of here for tonight. And we will see you next week. Before that, we'll see you at Boats in a few minutes. So, support independent media because we need it more than ever. Like I'm showing here, like Max and Sam and all the Indie Media Award honorees. Thank goodness for them.
Yep.
Good night.
See you at Boats, fam.
We are out of here.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I think I liked it better being blind. When I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? So I
can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 dead? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. No, I play civil when all these dead won't make you listen.
What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I can see the cause so clearly. See, I want our leaders, regardless of